Right, so what we're going to talk about today. Good day today. We've got some interesting bikes. We've got another Norton. No ordinary Norton, this is a P11. Behind Alex, just point out over here, we've got my project bike. And you're going to say, what have you done? Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. It will be a bike and it will go on the road and it will be my work bike. And today we've got the Scott up and running. So we've got the sidecar on, we've got most of the wiring done. It has got a little bit of work to be done still. We've got to just maybe adjust the clutch and a bit of fine tuning, but it's up and running. You last saw the Triumph Sprint, my Sprint, on the bench. It was over here. We had to take it off to make room for this project bike. I did take the forks apart and I couldn't really find much wrong with it, to be honest with you, but we'll talk about that another time. There's some shots, but the forks came out and the oil level was correct, put those back in. Did have one of the braces on the top of the fairing support on the right hand side that was broken, repaired that. I think the trouble is it's an older bike and the roads are so bad, if I drop the front tyre pressure it might make a difference. But it's a good bike and it needs to be back on the road. The Gold Star, the BB34, we've managed to locate a good petrol tank. So we've got a nice tank with the proper badges, the cap, the breather, fitting kit. We've managed to sort some shocks for it, the correct ones, some handlebars, what else? Chain guard, and engine parts I think we're going to be okay for. So that'll be another job that you will see coming along. What we really want to talk about today first really is the Norton, the P11. So what we got here is the P11. Now this one is slightly different. It's got pea shooters, slightly different to the one that's here. But the P11 was a bike that was only in production for a couple of years. Basically AMC, everyone knows that, is when you had all the companies that were merging together. It was the parent company of Norton. So what had happened was they had a surplus of parts for matchless. And at that time in 67, they were talking about, we had the Atlas last week. The Atlas had come to the end of its life really. They needed something more modern because the Americans were the ones that really wanted the Norton range of bikes. Everyone knows that America got what they wanted. They were more into bigger capacity all the time. That's why Nortons went up in capacity. So the Atlas is 750 and they wanted a new bike. So it was on the cards to build this Commando. But at the time, in the States, they were riding a lot of off-road bikes and they wanted more and more capacity. And the idea was to put the 750 Atlas engine into a matchless frame. If you look at this frame, it's not unsimilar to a Commando frame in a way. We look at this, and because before you had the feather bed, so this has gone to a single tube frame. And if you look at the Commando, this is very, very similar, but this would be for a matchless engine. So you can see it was built around that. So it's a lightweight frame with a 750 engine. And this is what was called a desert sled. Powerful, had a top speed of 110 miles an hour. For an off-road bike in its day, you think how much power that was. Like I say, it only had a short run for 2 years because I think all the money, Norton were developing their Commando, and like I say, everything was coming to an end with matchless, had all these surplus of parts. So they were just taking bits out of the bins and, yeah, we can use that, we can use that. And that's what they came up with. But these all went to the States. This is where the market was. And it's only latter years that they've started to come back. And these are very popular now because we'll talk about this in a moment. And I mentioned before, the roads have been so bumpy and potholes and, you know, you can't ride about on powerful bikes without risking going into a pothole. When you've got low bars, mentioned last time to you, you'll be off. So it's quite nice to have a street scrambler, and this is what it is. So what you see now, people bring out these more modern bikes and scramblers and that, it's been done before. So nothing new really, but this bike, the customer sent it in, and the story goes that this was one that was re-imported. I think he's had it 15 years or more. It was in bits, I believe, when he picked it up, and he started to do some work on it, and he had it up together, and I think over a period of time it got laid up, and there was some damage to the frame here, where the side stand fits on the frame. This tubing here rotted away, got water into the frame. He had that repaired, he stripped out the engine, had this all done, and the side stand fitted. And now he's at the age where he wants to ride it, so he's asked me would I put it together. So it came in, minus the mudguard, wheels are in, much the same as you see it here. But the first thing we looked at was the wiring, and these are decent loom because it's not colour coded, someone's made this for it. And he's bought a lot of parts here for it, and I did say to him about finishing it off, but I said, we've got to start this engine, because if I get hold of the crankshaft, you can see we've got end float on the crank. Now, if you can imagine, the crank's going backwards and forwards.
Do that again, Dave.
That's moving from side to side. Well, it's going backwards and forwards in the crankcase. Now, what that means is the conrods, everything's running out of line. These bearings are in and out. It's time to take this apart, because we know we've just done one before, what you find when you open these things up. So it's a good idea, take the engine apart, go through this. So you have the head off, valves out, we check the guides, we do the guides if necessary. Same as before on the Atlas. We have the crank out, we have the sludge strap out, we check all the bearings and rebuild that up. And the gearbox, that'll be taken out, and we go through the gearbox. He's put a new sprocket on here and done the seal, but we'll whip that box apart. Interesting thing about this engine, very quickly, is with the Atlas, you know, we had a magneto, which was here, and it had the 4-spark conversion. Well, magnetos are getting really expensive, and Lucas was stopping making them. So this is the first generation of a set of points. This is your assembly, where this is your generator here. I would say call it generator because it's not a magneto as such. In here, it's now been converted to a Boyer setup, an early one. Now, what was in here originally would be a point setup, same as you get on, like, just say on the A65. You take the cover off, or on the Commando, it'd be on the timing cover on the outside. It'd be a set of points with the bob weights behind. They put it here where the old mag was originally. And if you look, I'll make a reference in a moment. A few years later on, if we can look down here, because this is the same engine. This is an 850 Commando. Sorry, this one is, 750. 750 is this one. My one's outside. This one here, that is where we were looking just now. There's nothing there now. So that casting's still there. They stopped making it with that set of points assembly, similar to a magneto. They then decided that the best bet would be to put it on the other side in the timing case. So it's never really changed. This was a long run engine. It started as a 500, it went to a 600, then a 650, 750, then, as you know, the B850 Commander, which got outside. So this will be a nice job to do. Once we've sorted out issues with the engine, we can build it up properly, put a new loom in, and I think it'll be a nice bike. And we'll cover this one, and yeah, I think with the high level pipes, I'll just show you. And the tank, if you look at the tank, I mean, it's got a lovely little tank. It's going to be quite a pretty bike. Here you can see roughly how it's going to be. This will be the other side, obviously, but it'd be nice, high level pipes, one each side like this. It'd be a good looking bike. So that's that one. Now, the other job that's in here is a project bike. You know, I said I was waiting for my bike to come down from Middlesbrough. Well, this is it. Basically, It is very similar to an RGS, although it hasn't got the lugs on the frame for the rear sets, so it isn't. But it's a road rocket engine, and it's got a lot of Eddie Dow bits on here. Why I picked this up is because it's pretty well unmolested. It's got the road rocket engine, 650. It's got no broken fins. It's got a QD hub on the back. These mudguards, okay, these aren't the RGS type ones. It's got the stays here, which would be. These are much narrower mudguards, but there are new mudguards for it. So on the bench here, we have a new mudguard, which would be a golden mudguard for it, and the new front mudguard. Well, I've got some stays here for it. So we're going to go through it and I explain what we're going to do and what we've got here. So like the back wheel is the correct wheel, QD hub, but it hasn't got the big dust cover. It's got a different type of spacer here. When we come to look at the engine and the gearbox, we've got the correct stamping on here, and we know when we take it apart. This is the RRT2 gearbox, close ratio gearbox. It had the needle roller bearings in there, and we'll know once we take it apart. Correct engine, but all the engine plates have been chromed. But in its time, it's had quite a lot of money spent on it, but it's lost a few of its parts. So they're chromed. The engine covers on the front, they're chromed. And if we look at the headstock and the bottom yoke, well, top yoke and bottom yoke, they've both been chromed. It's running these nice levers. These are all Eddie Dow bits. And many years ago, not many people know this, but Eddie Dow was doing upgrades to forks. And people know about that, obviously. But what I didn't know, and what this has got, it's got the road holder forks. These are actually Norton forks. And this was a mod that was done by him. These were obtained, and you had to change the front wheel spindle. So we got the big 190 brake in here as well. And it's got some nice bits. So what I was going to show you, what a lot of people don't realise, that Eddie Dow, he produced this. This is his brochure. These are all the aftermarket parts. So here, this would be back in the 60s. So you could go in and you could obtain the parts. He raced, he was well known. There's a lot of interesting read here actually. And if we go further through here, then we come to the parts. Okay, we showed the 500 engine, Gold Star engine, but these are the sort of parts you could upgrade your bike with. So many variants of upgrading parts, engine plates, seats, different exhausts. And you had an order form, you could put this in. We've seen this type of fork setup. You can modify your forks. These are the levers we got with this one here. But there's the big brake as well, conversion, so a twin leading shoe. But yeah, interesting to have this, and it's a good reference. And here we got Norton forks, BSA wheel conversion. So that is the wheel spindle for the road holder forks. So that is in mint condition. I've never seen one before, so I was quite lucky to get hold of it. Here we have the logbook with the bike. Now, it was registered the 10th of the 4th, 1962, and it doesn't say Rocket Gold Star, but it's got the correct frame number, which it carries now, an engine number. But the front prefix here is EDA, which someone's going to say, I can tell you what that means. If we look at the engine, and we can see that we've got the correct letters on here. We got a DA10R, which this is here, DA10R, okay. So E, this is what it is, it's got an E at the front. Whether that means E for Eddie Dow, I don't know, but it's got DA, that's what that DA is for, DA10. 3420, 3420. So that's correct, but it has got an E in the front of it, but it's not on the casing. So I think it's going to be quite a nice bike. There's one or two bits here that I probably will change. we're not going to do this as an RGS. We're not going to go down that road. We're going to make this into a street scrambler, because I've already got an RGS and I will keep this bike. We'll do the frame. I would like to get that cleaned and painted. So looking for someone that is would like us to show a little bit of what they do, and maybe they can help us out. So a little bit of chroming to be done. So we need to get the yokes re-chromed and the engine plates, and really that's that. We need an oil tank, because we have got an oil tank in here, but it's quite battered. Let's show you this before we move on. So it shows scars, it's been dropped. So this was around the other side obviously, but it had a lot of chrome on this bike. So I think we'll probably end up with another tank for it, and then another battery box, and we'll just have it black. But in here is a battery box, which will go on this side. A lot of this has been robbed in the past, and a few bits obviously have been acquired again. But getting back to where we've got the clip-ons, we're going to put these fork shrouds on here and have the gaiters like this, and we'll run this with high bars. We get the lamp re-chromed, so I think it is quite pretty. What came with the bike, and it says 1950 Gold Star Clubman seat. I don't think it's genuine, but if anyone wants that, I'm going to get rid of that. It did come with a tank, and we know this is probably a Gold Flash tank. It's the early one. We're going to run this on a smaller tank. We're not going to put a big tank on it. Now, what it did come with, I would imagine this was for endurance racing. This is obviously for a BSA, got central fitting. It's got a Monza cap fitted on the side for quick refills. We'll have a breather pipe on here, but that is quite repairable. That side is good, the underside of it. Someone who's looking for this type of tank, I've got one, and I'm happy to get rid of it and help somebody else out with their project. It's got a little bit of damage, but if you want that tank, it's available, and we'll come to some agreement. We need to strip the wheels. We need to re-spoke the wheels. So the fork's got, everything's got to come out. So we're going to paint the frame, re-chrome with the chrome wear. The wheels will be rebuilt with stainless steel spokes, and everything will be polished. And I think it'd be quite a pretty bike when it's done. But it's not going to be quick. But we will do this between jobs, customers' jobs, and I will show you as we go taking it apart, and as we get bits done, it goes back together. Hopefully we can leave it on this bench here. This will be the project bench, so it doesn't interfere with customer work. But yeah, I've always liked these, and this will take the place of the A65. So once this is up together and I can see it's going to be okay, I'll let the other one go. But an interesting project. Okay, so the Scott, here it is. So yesterday, put the sidecar back on, had to put the chassis back on first and put the body back on. A little bit of update about this. So we got to this stage before and we tried to start it, and it had a little bit of an issue, had a water leak. So I let the bike without the sidecar go back to Kevin Bayliss. He sorted it out, bless him. A lot of work on this old girl. It's obviously had quite a hard life in its past. What we've got on here to sort out is obviously the horn. Just got to trace all the wires in, make it tidy. So yeah, people said about the rear light. So yeah, it's a tiny little light. So what we got on the sidecar here, we have got additional side light and a brake light. So if I just touch the brake pedal down here, you should see that come on if it's still working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that will help it be seen. And if you look on the wing of the sidecar, you got this from this side, you'll see it, little side light, that's period. For some reason, and this is the frosted glass lens, this is the side light on the front, I think what's happened is we've been running the bike up the road, but the main beam, the bulb is blown. I can see the discolour in it. Yeah, she runs okay. It has got a little bit of clutch slip, so we need to adjust the clutch, and we just check the carburation because it wasn't running off choke so well just now. But no, she's good. So hopefully, you know, this can go back to the customer very soon. Alex's mum's been in the sidecar, and that was great fun. And just show you in the back, and should show you how you get into this, because it's a tiny little sidecar.
Let's do a demo, Mum. Come and jump in.
We didn't show you this before, so what we got here, you can lift this up, then we got the catch on the inside the door. And now it's over to you, Mum. So it's quite tight. See, once you're in, it's quite snug.
How's that feel, Mum?
We won't put the roof over you, but you can imagine when that's over you, you feel quite closed in actually.
Can't wait to get on the road.
Yeah, but it rides okay, the sidecar. I was quite surprised. The gearing on the Scott is quite high. First gear, then change to second. It's a big jump. But it did pull okay, but going up the hill we had a little bit of clutch slip. I'll let you out.
Ah, this is a different story.
So it's not been restored. What we've done with this is what we said before. It's a recommission, and the owner had the sidecar at home and he's done the upholstery, but we didn't want to restore it. We kept a lot of that patina look about it, and you know, just a few more things to sort out. It's done, but it doesn't look as if it's had anything done to it. But that's the way he wants to keep it, really. So
Right, we start it up now, Dave.
let's see if it still goes. So with these, an important thing is, from cold, you have to turn the fuel on and tickle the carb till it floods out. Let's hold this down until it fills right up with fuel and sprays out fuel. The lever here is advance and retard. That's fully advanced. We just retard it slightly. And on this side, the most important thing, we've got petrol pouring out the carburetor at the moment. Occasionally the float sticks, we turn that off. The important thing is to make sure that the oil's turned on. We have petrol dripping at the moment. These things are a little bit, they can do this, I'm told. So the oil's on, that will flow into the pump, and it's a drip feed into the engine. This is your choke control. We'll give it about halfway, I think. It might be flooded now, so we'll just see. A little bit of throttle, just kick it softly. Going through the pump here. Now this is regulated on these two screws. You need to adjust so it's the same. At the moment it's about right. It's not smoking too much. I've stopped it because we just need to, we do need to take the jets out of the carburetor because it has got blocked for some reason. So just a little job to sort out. Oil turn off, and turn the fuel off. But we're nearly there with it really, so that's good. Good to hear it running, and yeah, it's quite fun to ride. Very light actually for a combination. There's not a lot of weight in it, and yeah, it pulls. Well, it should do. It's 600 engine, pulls really well, really smooth. But just a little bit of final sort of detail to sort out. So yeah, that's what we've been doing this last week. So I hope you enjoy watching the Scott and seeing Alex's mum in the sidecar.